I wanted to talk to you about recovery and rest, because it's all about trying to find a place in this world where it's all about the hustle and fast paced, and we've normalised that, and we've also normalised fighting against something which is seemingly negative. Even things that occur in nature, parasites, viruses, illness, it's very much our approach, particularly in our healthcare system, is all about fighting it. And we make the treatments and we make the drugs to fight something rather than trying to look at the root cause and make yourself less vulnerable. So although it's important to rest and have a look and analyse, look at areas of your life that maybe need a bit of a shake up, look at ways where maybe you're in too much of a fight mode and you need more of the being at peace and adapting, being at one and going with the flow. It's all about careful balance, but I did want to talk about movement, because at the moment I have been very much having to be in rest and recovery mode and look at ways in which I can get my energy, my natural energy, back into a good cycle again. But it is important as well not to write off movement, fresh air, sunlight, and I guess a bit of nature time, because we do need that kind of frequency to uplift us as well. So I just wanted to say that if you are around the Glasgow area, there's loads of places, there's loads of parks that you can go to get a little bit of a glimpse of that. If you just want a short walk around a pond or something, there's loads within the Glasgow and Renfrewshire areas. But something like Clyde Muirshiel Park is not far at all from Glasgow, and I'm lucky to have it on my doorstep. I'm only about 2 miles away, and this is one of my favourite places to come to have a bit of a walk. And I am quite breathless at the moment because of an ongoing condition that I'm trying to move forward and heal from and be at peace and trust the process. But I do think it's important to remember to stimulate your waste system, basically, your lymphatic system. And although it's really, really difficult when you feel heavily fatigued, there does come a point where we need to kickstart the metabolism again, and doing things like having hot water, or should I say warm water, not boiling hot, warm water in the morning with a bit of lemon, maybe cider vinegar. Even if you can't get out and about, if you're really that housebound at present, even just stretching and allowing the muscles to let go of any waste and the lymphatic system to flow better in order to get rid of the toxins, because that can really build up and attribute to the fatigue that you're having as well. So yeah, I have come to Clyde Muirshiel with my dogs, where I'm actually not sure where they've gone. Neva? Where's the other one? Luna? Come? Luna? No. Want to get a biscuit? I walk as much as I feel that I can, and sometimes it's really quite surprising how your body starts to come to life again a little bit, and you've realised that maybe this is something that you need a bit more activation to not push through, but it's a case of the toxins have been stagnant in the system, and maybe that clear out that you get from having a bit of movement is actually going to be helpful to you feeling a little bit better. So it's careful balance, it's not over pushing, but it's also taking in scenery like this that is just really typically Scottish. But yeah, it's something else up here, and I would recommend it to anybody. I just absolutely love it. And it's a hard thing to really generalise, because we're all very different, we've got unique circumstances, but we fit into different categories and groups, I guess, when it comes to looking at things from like a traditional Chinese medicine point of view, Ayurvedic, and different techniques that people use to sort of categorise what someone's experiencing, what meridians are out of balance, what energy is maybe blocked or imbalanced or in excess or not enough of. So I know it's real hard to generalise, but what I want to say is that it's not always a case of, someone has gotten really, really lethargic and really fatigued because they've been in adrenaline mode and they've burned out. That is so common, I've got to say, and I saw it in a lot of clients, and it was something that I had to get out of myself, and it's what probably got me in a cycle that led to chronic illness in my early or late teens and into my 20s, where I had crashes and then things started to manifest more physically. But I have to say that there can be instances where you need to reactivate your energy. And if you have not been relying on your natural energy for a long time, and you've been tapping into other sources, so artificial energies, you know, running on adrenaline, you really do need to stop pushing yourself and allow your natural energy to build back up again, and wean yourself off of those things that kind of stimulate the adrenal gland, and your caffeines, your sugars, and your other kind of short-term buzz, your fixes, and your uppers. But I have to say that some of us do get into that mode where we've become so sedentary that we are almost stagnant, and our body needs to be activated and given a boost again. So in those instances, things like being more active and more not adrenaline boosting factors, but you know, things that activate your natural energy, get the circulation going, get the lymphatic system going. It can be ideal for someone that's perhaps been in that mode too long and they've become like a sloth, and yeah, they need a wee bit of inspiration. So it's very hard, and I don't like sending out the general message of what you should do, but I think it's really useful to keep this in mind and explore it and look at what kind of person that you could be and how to uniquely look at healing yourself and look at your energy sources and how to activate, how to get rid of waste, how to get rid of toxins, how much exercise you should be having, should you be pushing over or should you be doing the opposite and giving yourself time to heal and rest and recovery. And just to give you a little bit of a personal insight as well, over the years I've learned quite a few things. It can be easy to be tricked into believing that you're exhausted or you don't have energy, and it can boil down to certain things that manifest similar symptoms to fatigue. So that can be things like dehydration. In the past, I have realised that perhaps it wasn't so much tiredness, being worn out, brain fog, lack of concentration. It was simply that I needed more fluid going into my body. So that's one. The other one would be medications. So a medication that I had to take was one that contributed to being dehydrated, but also had a sedative kind of effect. So when I woke up in the morning, I had a feeling like I was completely hungover. And it was a situation where it wasn't as easy just to say, I need to come off of this and find a natural alternative. There was a wee bit more going on, and it was needed to get out of a crisis. And it continues to be something that I'm working on to find a full way of healing without the need to lean on that. But for now, I wake up in the mornings feeling hellish, and a lot of the time it is a case of realising that I'm being tricked into believing that I can't do this, I can't face today, I can't move, I need more sleep, you know, cancel off everything, and just using a different inner voice to push through that. And once up, moving around and hydrating, it's actually really surprising how I can feel pretty different. So keeping that in mind, that helps me move forward, and it helps me feel inspired to do that. Knowing that I've got some kind of power over things perhaps. But again, you do have that point where your body is trying to give you red flags and you're not listening to it, and you're pushing and you're activating your fight or flight mode constantly, and your fight or flight mode gets you into more of an anxious state. And it might mimic feelings of anxiety, and you might even feel that you have anxiety. You might have been diagnosed with that, but perhaps you've not thought about taking other things into consideration, such as when you're pushing constantly, you're having more of a crash effect once you're past that initial buzz, that initial adrenaline response. So then you heavily rely on things like caffeines, energy drinks, sugars, even some drugs that are uppers that make you feel invincible, but you have inevitably that crash again. I'm getting too many red flags and I'm ignoring it. And the longer that you go on ignoring it, the closer you are to having a crisis point that isn't so easily rectified by just pushing through, and you will be forced to stop. Without scaremongering, that is inevitably what will happen. And perhaps that's the universal plan. Maybe that's what's meant to happen to you, to force you to stop, have time out, reflect, maybe change some things in your life that you've felt for a long time aren't really useful for you, doesn't feel like it's good for your spirit. But, you know, months and years have gone on and you're in the same vicious cycle. Perhaps that's a blessing to come into your life, to force you to have that alone time, to reassess and take back some power. So although it can feel brutal, if you're in that mode, know that things are placed in your way for a reason, and there is definitely intention there, and things will get better, especially when you begin to explore some root causes. And for those of you that are still pushing through, I hope you keep this in mind, and it might get you to look at things slightly more differently.